Our sun, just one, of billions of stars in our galaxy, just one, of billions of galaxies in the universe. Are we really alone?
Estimate of the situation.
At the beginning of the 20th century, the warmongering Western mindset saw aliens as a potential invading threat. Whether they were humanoid or monstrous, they would blast our cities with death rays and carry off our womenfolk. But the tragic wars of the early 20th century seemed to create a new psyche. People saw the visitors as potential friends, brothers, even saviors. An underground culture of projected desires and, for some, worship emerged in the 1950s. But ever since the first witnesses reported contact cases, there have been some negative meetings. Even before the celebrated experiences of Betty and Barney Hill, Brazilian Antonio Villas-Boas had had a strange encounter with disturbing overtones. Dragged against his wishes into an unaerodynamic craft that had landed in the field he was tilling. He claims to have been stripped, drugged, and then encouraged to have sexual intercourse with a strange-looking girl, who then rubbed her stomach and pointed to the sky. Extensive interviews and medical examinations tended to support Villas-Boas's version of events. Then in 1961 came Betty and Barney Hill's interrupted journey with its unexplained medical procedures. Once again suggestive of fertility treatments, like a harvesting of human DNA in the form of eggs and sperm. Later in the 60s, Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker reported a weird encounter. Having gone to the police with their story, they were secretly recorded when left alone. At no time did their story change or show any sign of being false. Then in 1975, Travis Walton, Mike Rogers, and 5 other men had an experience they would never forget. While working as a logging crew in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest in Arizona, investigating a possible forest fire, they were shocked to find a glowing aerial object just hovering in a clearing. While the others stayed in the truck, Travis walked towards the object and was suddenly struck by a beam of light that knocked him off his feet. Thinking Travis dead, the others feared for their lives and sped away from the scene. When they returned to the area, the craft was gone, and Travis Walton's body was nowhere to be seen. Several days later, Travis emerged from the woods, frightened and dehydrated. Travis had a horrific story to tell. All the men were given lie detector tests, and more than once, since that fateful day they have passed them. In the 80s, a new kind of abduction experience emerged.
There's never been a phenomenon like this. This is completely unprecedented. Everything that happens on board is for a reason, everything is logical, everything is rational, and everything is understandable information. This was not a learning experience. It wasn't an experiment. They were trying to figure out what makes us tick. The evidence suggests that this was a program. There is a reason for this program to be put in place. That's what the evidence clearly points to. What was happening was that people were talking about this reproductive material. People were having sperm taken, they were having eggs taken. People report that they were having embryos injected into them and sometimes retrieved from them. I began to hear accounts of abductees who were taken into a room and their attention would be directed to a screen-like device. And on the screen, there would be a scene of normal human activity. A picnic, kids playing ball, guys standing around a grill, people talking to each other. And they'll hear in their mind, can you tell the difference between you and us? And the person will look at the screen and say, no, everybody looks the same to me. And I'll say, see, isn't that wonderful? Isn't that great? Soon we will all be together. Soon it will be wonderful. Soon everybody will be happy. Now, you hear that once. It's not a pattern. You hear that once, you just discard it. Interesting, who knows? But when you begin to hear it over and over again, then suddenly it has different meaning. This is from other people who are not aware of this testimony. Then I began to have a series of very bizarre accounts, but once again fitting patterns that people were saying, where they know that in the future they have a job to do. These are abductees. And the job is to stand on the corner, and when panicked people come by to tell them, it's okay, everything is all right, just keep moving this way, and they would practice that, and they would sort of do that, and they knew that in the future this is what they would have to do. And then I began to understand that what they were telling these abductees, what these beings were telling these abductees, is that ultimately this is an integration program into the society, not with gray aliens most likely, but with these hybrids who look quite human. For years and years and years, people would write to me and say, oh, well, are adult hybrids walking among us? And the answer is absolutely not. There's no evidence whatsoever that that's the case. But the evidence that I've been getting recently in terms of the goals of the program is that that might be the case. I don't really know yet. It is possible. And I am embarrassed even to say that. I'm embarrassed. And yet, it fits the pattern of all the evidence that I've been hearing for the past 20 years. It's focused on hybrids. The reproduction is to reproduce hybrids, and it does appear to be an integration program, as crazy as that may sound. This is a technologically superior society by definition that we are seeing, and everything that is described is technologically superior. That is not the problem. The problem is that it's neurologically superior as well. They can control us neurologically, and they can do it from a distance. That makes them superior. And the question is, how do you stop a superior species from integrating, from doing what they want to do? I don't know the answer to that. If it was a matter of shooting bullets at them or anything like that, there'd be no problem. But the problems are much more difficult than you could ever imagine, and this will never be accepted as a reality until it is real, and that's too late. I'm very, very not optimistic, shall we say, about the future of this. I fear for the future of my children. Both of them are in their 20s now, and I just think that they're not going to have a future the way they think that they are, the way that I had hoped that they would. I'm very pessimistic about it. I fear for the future.
In November of 1989, abduction researcher Bud Hopkins began investigating a case that, if genuine, changes reality. Longtime abductee, Linda Cordell Napolitano reported being taken from her bedroom on the 12th floor of a New York apartment block. Floated through the window and lifted up to a waiting UFO in full view of a long line of stalled cars on Brooklyn Bridge. What makes this event special is that it's claimed UN Secretary General Javier Perez de Cuellar and 2 security men, along with several other witnesses who viewed the scene from different vantage points, watched in amazement as Linda was levitated, along with 3 humanoid creatures, up into the waiting craft, a scene that went unnoticed by many others in the area. If true, it seems that the act could have been a deliberate display for the benefit of the UN leader.
finally got to essentially work, back engineer, or analyze one of the craft.